Good afternoon. It's September 13th. We are looking at Lascaux 2. And this is a view from the satellite sitting off on our incoming limb. So everything you see on this side over here to the right is going to be coming at Earth. And everything you see on the left is going away from Earth. And you're going to notice here, we get a lot of big activity coming off the back of this. Some major blasts that are going away from Earth. I think that's because we have some sunspots there hiding behind the incoming limb that I'm not seeing yet. Some of it, now if we were looking at if we could superimpose our sunspots here, 3429 and 3433 would be right over here on the edge of this. So some of this activity is moving off from them. But there seems to be something hiding back here on the back limb coming around, moving forward yet. So I think we have some very active regions coming later this month. So we still have a potential for something big. All right. Looking at our observations tonight, we've been at about a 3 all day, which tracks with what they're saying. Sometime between probably 6 o'clock tonight and midnight, they're predicting we're going to go to a 4, and then we're going to get another blast in the early morning hours. And then we will have some activity Friday night as well. This is going to be more solar winds rather than plasma. So it may look a little bit different, but that's what we're looking at. Now, let's look at our sunspots. We have lost 3423. It's dying off as a sunspot, and it's out of reach. It's really not going to do much for us. 3430 is kind of out of reach. We may still be able to get hit with 3425, and it is still producing sunspots. 3429 is developed back into a beta gamma. It is still changing shape and growing. 3431 and 3429 still have at least another day and a half before they're Earth facing. We have another day and a half of quiet. Once they get Earth facing, so like in 2 days, like Saturday, Sunday, after I look for them to pop off. So we could see them get really active in going into next week and producing things next week. 3433 is still growing. These three are kind of growing a little bit, but they're still in that quiet zone. Solar flaring, as I said, that's all kind of quieted down, where our big players that are driving things have rotated out of Earth-facing magnetic connection. Things are quieting. It will get back to flaring, I'm sure, in a couple of days. We've had 34 different CMEs. That's not saying all of them are directed at Earth. They have downgraded the one that originally was 280, then it was 180, now it's 90. So it's going to be a glancing blow. It's coming off from that 229, 231 region. But as you can see, there's still something back here that's kicking off, going the opposite direction. You can tell it's going backwards. And then we got something over here that's going backwards. They are shooting behind sun. And it's really hard to tell sometimes. And you kind of have to know where the sunspots are to go, okay, maybe that's shooting out from this one and that's shooting out from this one. But it's hard to tell when you're compressing a 3D model into a 2D picture. But I'm seeing a lot of activity coming from a spot back here that we're not seeing yet that should rotate around in the next week. So the CMEs are there. We've had 14 of them since the big storm, you know, so we still have 14 of them going. A lot of them are producing plasma that could potentially hit us. And the forecast is fairly strong. And some of these, if you look at these models, we've got some moving at 286. We have some of them moving at 1,500 miles or 50 miles an hour. Those faster ones are going to catch these slower ones and they're going to scoop them up. And when they scoop those up, that means that makes that storm so much bigger. Okay, so that's when we take the measly little 3 or 4 and it ramps it up to a 6 or a 7. So it just depends on how many of these are Earth facing enough and how many of these charged particles are moving slower between Earth and Sun and get caught by a really good push, whether we're going to ramp up to a 5 or a 6 again, or possibly a 7. But we do have a lot of really slow moving stuff followed by really fast moving stuff. That's a really good recipe. So now I'm going to answer a question somebody had. And I'm going to use this map right over here. Somebody asked me, you know, they were wondering, why are we seeing 5s, KP5, so low down in Illinois, Indiana? Why are we seeing those so prevalent lately? And there is a complicated answer to that. Part of it has to do with our magnetic poles are shifting, they're moving. And if you look at this map, our magnetic pole was over here. This is our geographic pole, but this is our magnetic pole. And now our magnetic pole is on the move and it's way over here going into Siberia, into Russia. They're going to bend and they're going to cross, and scientists are actually saying that they're going to split into 4 or 6 dipoles, and we're going to end up with multiple poles at one time. And then as it migrates back the other way, they'll go back to being just 2 magnetic poles. But it's going to cause weird anomalies. We're going to see auroras in places we haven't seen them before. That's part of it. But also, as this happens, it's weakening our magnetic bubble that's above us. And it's allowing the solar particles, the charged particles, to get down into our atmosphere farther. It's allowing more of them to get into our atmosphere. We also have space particles that are out there floating around in space that is getting down into our atmosphere. And coincidentally, if anybody wonders where water came from, it came on the back of space particles. They were actually space particles that got pulled into Earth. So we shift to magnetic poles, but here's our geographic magnetic pole, and our magnetic pole right now is over here, but we have this weird drop. And I think some of it has to do with, if you think about what the UP is made out of, that's where we find iron and nickel and copper and a lot of magnetic stone. A lot of magnetic particles are there. And we have a bubble over the Great Lakes that the auroras tend to drop down, and they form over the Great Lakes region more than they do in other places. And it's a weird little anomaly we have that we're blessed with. So that is why we see auroras lower in the atmosphere. I think part of it has to do with the types of rocks and the metals that are in our ground. I think part of it has to do with the magnetic pole reversal, and our magnetosphere is getting weaker. It's allowing more to come into our atmosphere, and it's allowing it to come further into our atmosphere at different levels. And it's just allowing us to see the auroras farther south, to answer that question for the person in chat the other night. So Get out there tonight. We have partly cloudy skies for most everybody. I'm going to pull this up. Tonight is basically going to flip-flop except for, I'm sorry, people, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, you're still pretty cloudy. I would say next to the lake shores is your best shot. Hopefully, Rebecca, you get a chance to get some good shots tonight. Northern Michigan, if I put this in motion, we may cloud up some on the inner parts of Michigan through the evening hours, but closer to the lake shores, you should be clearer. UP, Eastern UP is going to have a wonderful shot tonight. Lower Michigan, lower Wisconsin, you're going to be a little more cloudy. Of course, Minnesota, you've got a great shot tonight. New York, you may get a chance here tonight. Maybe a little bit of Pennsylvania, Ohio. Indiana, northern Indiana is a place to be if you want to see them. Illinois, you're going to have to hunt and peck the clouds. We have no idea because this is really hard to forecast. We aren't going to know it until it hits ACE. And we know it's an hour out from Earth, how fast things are moving and how much is moving at us. So, be using your apps. We use spaceweatherlive.com for our website online. We have Aurora Alert on Android phones that I use is my go-to. It seems to be the most accurate and the most easiest to understand. And then you can, the Space Weather Enthusiast page, Straight from NOAA, is the other one we watch. We do have chats open in our Michigan and Wisconsin groups. And I will open one up in the North American Dark Sky group. If you are from Michigan, join the Michigan group. If you are from Wisconsin, join the Wisconsin group. If you are not from those states, please join the North American Dark Skies group. That is for anybody who is not in the localized state groups. The state groups are only for those residents, and it's kind of their place that they can meet and greet people that they know live locally. The North American Dark Skies is for everyone that just wants to follow the aurora weather and see photographs, and that's the go-to place to share photographs. So I'm going to leave it there. Everybody enjoy. You can get into chats and follow along, and those will be open tonight. All right. Thank you.